Today we will talk about Monetdbd. Monetdbd is Monetdb management daemon. We use this daemon to initialize some directory as a dbfarm. And dbfarm is a directory where we can place our databases. We can also use Monetdbd to set and read settings that are valid for all of those databases inside of that dbfarm. We are using Monetdbd to start and stop servers. Servers are mserver 5 processes, and users will usually connect to Monetdbd, and then Monetdbd will redirect them to their databases. I will now jump here to shell so we can see what we can do with this daemon. So we can control daemon from the shell, and I will first use this option V. With V option we can see what version of Monetdb server do we have. We can use that command as a short syntax, or we can use this longer syntax. We would get the same result, and for each short option there is also this longer option. If we want to get help for our daemon, then we should use H option, and this is help for Monetdbd. We can see different commands that we can use with Monetdbd, and here we can notice that we have get command. If we want to get help but only for get command, in that case after the H option we should place the name of that command. So this is how we will get help but only for get command. I will now clean my screen. We will now see how we can work with dbfarm. I will first make desktop my current directory, and then I will create one folder inside of it. I will name that folder dbfarm, and then I will initialize this folder. When I initialize a folder with Monetdbd, that means that we can now create new databases inside of this folder. I will now jump here to desktop, and I will show you that folder. Inside of it we have this Monetdb properties file. I will open this file, and this is the content of this file. I will then close this. I will go back to shell, and now no one is listening to default port 50,000. To achieve that, we have to start our dbfarm, which we will do with Monetdbd start dbfarm. And now we are listening to port 50,000, and we can check that if we use this command, and we can see here that Monetdb is listening on this port. After we start our dbfarm folder, then we can go to this dbfarm folder again, and here we will see 3 new files. First we have Monetdb log file. This file is empty. Then we have Monetdb log file. I will open it. Inside of it we can get our log. I will close it. And we also have Monetdb PID file. I will open it. And this is a process ID of our Monetdbd daemon. I will close this. So this number is 2529. If we go back to shell, we can see that number here. So this is a process ID of Monetdbd. Now we can stop our dbfarm, and for that we will use command Monetdbd stop dbfarm. So now it will stop, and now no one is listening to port 50,000 because our dbfarm is not functional, so there is no result for this command. I will now clean my screen. Now that dbfarm is no more active, the file Monetdb PID will disappear. That file do exist only when dbfarm is active. Here we also have Monetdb properties file. We saw it earlier, and if I open again this file, we will see only one property inside of this file. I will close this, and to read all of other properties we have to go to shell, and we have to run this command. So we will read all of the properties of this dbfarm, and we will get a list of different properties. And here we have one property, log level, that has value information. I will now show you how we can change values of these properties. For example, I will change log level to be debug. So we use set command, and then we say property is equal to its new value. So I will run this, and now I have changed this property. But it is also possible to change this property not only when our dbfarm is closed, but also when dbfarm is active. But for some properties, after we change them, they will not become active immediately. For some of the properties, if dbfarm is active, we first have to stop and start that dbfarm. That is, we have to restart dbfarm for some of the properties to become active with a new value. I will now go again here to this folder, and I will again open this Monetdb properties file. Currently, we have one property changed, and after this first change, this file will change too. So I will open it, and now here we have a list of different properties. But here we don't have all of the properties that we can see here in the shell, because this command is used only to read these properties and their values. So here we also have some properties that are read-only. But here inside of Monetdb properties file, we have only properties that can be both read and written too. So we can change the values for these properties. And we should never change them here by hand. We should always use this set command. I will now close this file, and I will clean my screen. We know that when we make our dbfarm active, that inside of that dbfarm directory, we will get Monetdb log file, and we will also have that Monetdb PID file. But if we want to change their location, we can do that by changing some properties of Monetdbd. I will go back to shell, and I will first tell to Monet that now I want as log file to use this file that is on the desktop. So I will change that property, and I will also change the property which will tell Monet where to place a Monetdb PID file. I will also change the names of these files. So after I run this, now I have to start my dbfarm again. So I will use start command, and now we will have two new files. So I will go here to desktop, and here we have our new files for logs and for process ID. Inside of this log file, I will open it. We have these lines with messages. When we see this MSG, that is for information and warnings. Now we can limit what will be presented inside of this log file. So I will close this, and then I will go here to this web page. We can use this command here, so we can change a log level property to some of the appropriate values. One of those values is error. If we use error, then we will get only errors. Default value is information, and for information we will get errors, warnings, and information, and if that is the same as debug. We can also use warning. If we use warning, then we will get errors and warnings. And while MSG is for informations and warnings, for errors we will use ERR. I will go back, and I will clean my screen. Next, we will talk about properties about our connection. I will jump to this web page, and first I will tell you that we have these properties sock, dir, and forward, and usually we shouldn't change them. Then we have this property list and address, which has a value localhost. This means that only connection can be from the local computer. We have to change that if we want to allow people from the network to connect. Our port number is default port number 50,000, and we will change that too. So I will go now to shell, and first I will change list and address to these zeros. These zeros means that people from the network will be able to connect to our database. So I will run that, and I will also change my port number to 50,001. Now for these two properties to become valid, we have to restart dbfarm. So I will stop my dbfarm, and then I will start it again. But this dbfarm doesn't have any databases, So for this example, I will create one database. I will create a database with the name dbfarm db. So I will create a database. I will release this database so that anyone can connect to it. And I will also start this database. And next, I will jump to green server. So I will now go to different computer. So this is a green server. I already explained how to create this green server. We can see that in this blog post here. So this is just another server with Monet. I will go again to that green server. And from here, I will now try to connect to my VOC server, where we have changed that listen address property to those zeros. So now we can connect to it using new port 50001. So if we run this, my password is Monetdb, we will be connected to VOC server. I will now go back to VOC server, and I will show you inside of this blog post that beside using localhost, we can also use this syntax if we want to allow only connections over IPv4. This syntax is for IPv6, and if we want for people from the network to connect to us, we can use all. That means that those users can use either IPv4 or IPv6. They will use this if they are using IPv4 addresses, and this syntax is for IPv6 address. I will now go back to shell, and I will change my port number back to default 50,000. So I will change it back, and I will clear my screen. In one of the previous blog posts, I have shown how to create a backup, that is a snapshot of a Monet database. I will jump now to that blog post, and in this blog post we have used stored procedure to create a snapshot. But we can do the same from the command line. So I will go back to shell, and before we create a snapshot, I will change some settings. I will first use Monetdbd to change setting snapshot year. So this will be a location where our snapshot will appear. I will run this, and then I will change a compression level, and for that I will use this command. I will change compression to LZ4, but we can also use BZ2, XZ, or GZ. So I will run these two, and now we can create a snapshot. And for that we will not use Monetdbd, but we will use just Monetdb. So we will create a snapshot of our database dbfarm db. So I will run this, and now we have our snapshot. It will appear on the desktop. So I will go here to desktop. Here is my snapshot. If I open it, inside we will find our database. I will now go back to shell, and I will just tell you that we can undo our changes by setting some property to nothing, like this. So I'm just saying snapshot here is equal to nothing. In this case, we will not have location for our snapshot, so making a snapshot will not be possible. I will now clear my screen. We will now see how we can control Monetdbd from some remote computer. But before we do that, we will change some settings. First, by using Monetdbd, I will give any remote computer ability to control Monetdbd on this VOC server. So I will run this. I will set control to true. Beside that, we have to set a password. So I will change this other property, passphrase, and my password will be zebra. So I will also run this, and now we will have a new password. We'll now jump here to dbfarm folder. I will open my Rangivian properties file, and here we will find our password. But our password will not be in the plain text. Instead of that, it will use SHA-512 encryption. So we will get this 128 hexadecimal digits. I will close this. It is also possible to set our password directly. So we can encrypt our password by ourselves, like this. So instead of providing just zebra, I will directly provide SHA value for zebra. So we can also do this, and the result will be the same. Now, for these two settings to become valid, we have to restart dbfarm. So I will stop dbfarm, and then I will start it again. And because we will use database inside of this dbfarm, I will also start our database dbfarm.db. And now I will jump to other computer. So I will jump again to this green computer. I will open a new tab because I want to run a command from the shell. And now we will send command to Monetdbd on different computer. For that we will use Monetdb. We will provide IP address, port number, we will provide our password, and for password we will use this option upper letter P, and we will also send the command to stop a database. So we will stop a database, I will run this, and this will be successful. And this is how we can control Monetdbd from remote computer. I will go back to VOC server and I will clean my screen. Monetdb has the ability to inform all of other Monet servers on the same local network about its existence. And it can do that by using UDP broadcast, and that broadcast will use a port of that Monet server, for example, default port 50,000. I will now set some properties on this VOC server. First, I will turn on this discovery. That means that we will broadcast our existence on the local network. So I will say discovery is equal to true. I will also say that our signal will be sent every 300 seconds. So I will change this setting discovery TTL to 300. And for these settings to become valid, we have to restart our dbfarm. So I will stop dbfarm and then I will run it again. And now we are broadcasting our existence, and we can check that if we jump to green server. So I will go down to green server, and on the green server I will run command monetdb discover. So if I run this, we will see that on the VOC computer, this is VOC computer, this is host name of the VOC computer, we have this database, and on this local computer we have our green database. So here we can see all of the databases that are accessible at this moment. I will now go back to VOC server and I will clean my screen. I will now stop this dbfarm and then I will start it again, but I will use an switch. When we start dbfarm like this, we will start it in foreground. That means that now we cannot run any other commands because our Monetdbd is in the foreground, and this can be useful for debugging and some other uses. But I want to exit from this mode, so I can use Ctrl+C, and after that we can just press enter, and now we are out. We are out, that means that our Monetdbd is no more in the foreground, but it is closed. Next we will talk about property exit timeout. When we stop dbfarm, Monetdbd will immediately send sig-term signal to database. So Monetdbd will ask politely databases to close, although databases can refuse to do that. But after some time, so after exit timeout time, that means, for example, after 60 seconds or something, Monetdbd will send a sig-kill signal and databases will be closed violently. Now, there are three possible values for exit timeout. I will jump to this web page, and that value can be positive. In that case, after exit timeout plus 5 seconds, we will send a sig-kill signal. If the value is negative, in that case, we will only send sig-term signal. So we will just politely ask databases to close. We will not kill them in any way, and we can send a 0. If we send a 0, then Monetdbd will close, but databases will not close. And I also want to tell you about one more property. That property is keep alive. If this computer here is a server, then we have some users from the network connecting to this computer. And let's assume that some of those users are running really long queries, so queries that can last for like 60 minutes. During that time, our firewall can conclude that those connections are idle, and it will kill them. It will stop those connections, and we want to prevent that. And to achieve that, our server will send a signal to each client connected to this computer every 60 seconds. And we can set that time with this keep alive property, so everyone connected to this database will get a signal every 60 seconds. And these signals will be sent exactly 127 times. So if one cycle is 60 seconds, then in total all of the clients will be alive at least 2 hours. And this is how we can keep our connections alive. I will now clean my screen. Whenever we run Monetdbd, we will get as a result either 0 or 1 depending on the success of the command. For example, if I now start dbfarm and if I echo the result of this command, I will get 0 because this is success. But if I run the same command again, I will get an error because we cannot start dbfarm that is already started. Next, we will talk about some signals that we can send to Monetdbd. I will first read from PID file, and I will show that with cat command I can find out ID of Monetdbd process. I will use this number for next example. I will now change one property of Monetdbd. For example, I will change log file. Currently my log file is logi.log, but I want to change it back to Merongivian log. So I will change this property. But for this property to become functional, we have to restart Monetdbd. I want to avoid restarting Monetdbd, and instead of that I will use sig hub signal. So I will use this command. This here will just return this number. So this is the same. And this is a way to send sig hub signal, and with this signal we will tell to Monetdbd to reload but not to restart. So if we run this, Monetdbd will collect this new value of a property, but it will not stop some databases if they are running currently. So if I run this, we will use this new property. Next, we will talk about that, how we can stop Monetdbd. For that, we can also use signals, so we can use sig turn signal. So we will again read process ID, we will send sig turn signal, and this will close Monetdbd and all of the databases, and this will close them gently, so databases will have a right to refuse closing. Instead of sig turn, we can also use sig int and sig quit. So instead of turn, we will write int or quit. Those are also acceptable.